And thanks for joining us on PM Express tonight. There is a major story we've been doing a series about over the last few weeks. And tonight we aired the final episode in that series. It's one of those stories that you just simply cannot ignore. It is about abandoned sports infrastructure, the wasted millions. My colleague Fentu Tahiru has been looking into this. Today he played a final episode of this. I wanted to watch this. When I return, I'll give you the further breakdown of how much we've lost or are in the process of losing altogether because we've simply chosen to abandon projects when we pumped so much money into it at a time of a massive economic crisis. Watch.
Northern Region's Youth Resource Center is located in Yendi, and construction started on the facility in March 2018. 5 years on, the project looks abandoned and a long way from completion. While the stands have all been completed, the project has not seen any progress since then, with weeds and rubbish taking over significant portions of the facility. The grass on the football pitch has also been overtaken by weeds and largely overgrown. The paint on the tennis court is peeling away, and although grounds have been made for the running tracks, no sign of tartrans being laid. Parts of the roof on the VIP stand have fallen off, and the basketball and volleyball courts for now are just concrete slabs. In August 2022, President Akufo-Addo paid a working visit to the facility and said he was impressed with the progress of work. At the time, the contractor estimated the completed work of Phase 1 at 96%. 5 months since then, the president would be left massively disappointed by the state of the project in its current state, after failure to pay the contractor the remainder of his money resulted in the abandonment of the project. At Inahi, a community in the Ashimamponya district of the Ashanti region, the story is no different. And sports enthusiasts and aspiring football players are peeved at the neglect of an almost completed multipurpose sports complex. The room compartments are housing spiders and cobwebs, while air conditioners and ceiling fans are rusting away. Dampness and molds are eating the white paint-coated walls, giving the walls some greenish-brown, unpleasant look of distress. The football pitch is strangled by weeds, with risky pits littered across the pitch. Parts of it get muddy during the rainy season, which is unfavorable for any sort of footballing activity. And now in the dry season, the pitch on the grass has been consumed by bushfires. The Nyinahin Sports Complex is a 10-minute drive from the main entrance to town, which is home to Isaac AZUMAH, the former sports minister and current member of parliament for the area. It was under his regime works began on the project, and even his own is not spared of the neglect. Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia visited the facility in 2019 and expressed delight at the progress of work. But that progress has turned to waste, with more than $20 million invested in the 10 youth resource centers across the country, with very little on the grounds to justify the mammoth spend. Dreams have become nightmares, and the wait for world-class sporting facilities across the country continues unabated.
So that's just one of the many sports centers that we visited. I want to come to Accra because there's one that when I was a kid, we all looked forward to going to this particular place because when we're doing Intako, when the senior high schools, we go and do sports competitions, inter-school sports competitions. It was one of the places you really wanted to go, the AZUMAH Nelson Sports Complex. Well, after years of being left and just not being up to scratch, we decided to spend millions of dollars. And I'll go through the amount that we spent so far for you on the AZUMAH Nelson Sports Complex, which is really down, just not far away from where I'm talking from. We spent a lot of money to try and renovate it and bring it up to, call it international standards. And then somehow, we just simply said, nah, after we spent all that money, when it was almost complete, we should just leave it and let rodents and, other animals begin to play there. My colleague, Fentio, was there again. Watch him.
Later, this is the state of it. Abandoned and left to become a breeding ground for all kinds of reptiles. The AZUMAH Nelson Sports Complex is not befitting of the legend it's named after. In its current state, only animals can play sport here. At the time of abandonment, the project was indeed close to completion, with the VIP stand constructed and roofed, the 4 stands constructed and the seats fixed. The drainage system had also been done, and the groundwork had been prepared for the tartan tracks to be laid. All of that, however, has now been left to rot. The compound is bordered by walls of weeds, and the facility, in totality, has now become a breeding ground for reptiles, which have made here a happy home.
So just 2 examples of why we are having this conversation tonight, the wasted millions. Now let's talk about how much money we decided to invest in all these projects, and then we begin to sit and have a conversation with our guests who will join us. The 10 resource centers were valued at more than $20 million. $20 million. In this current economy, where we are in desperate need of resources, where every single cent the Ghana Revenue Authority has been asked to go after, this $20 million would have done magic for a lot of people. In fact, it will settle a lot of the people, the individual bondholders who have monies locked up in many bonds that they paid. Some of them may get their money after this if we have not spent it on the resource centers. But trust me, the resource centers were very important. And there's a reason why, as a state, we decided to spend $20 million on them. You've seen the state after we spent all the money on them. But let me tell you where these projects were at various stages of completion, because that begins to tell you a story. I told you about the AZUMAH Nelson Sports Complex, right? It was a training base for teams during the AFCON 1978. So that tells you how important it's been. And the center was commissioned for renovation on March 2018 by Isaac Isiama, who is a former sports minister. Now, renovation was valued at $4 million. Yes, $4 million to renovate it, to bring it up to scratch. It was scheduled to be completed December 2018. The project was 90% complete, 90% as of 2021 December. We went there fairly recently. Fentu will join me and give me the timelines when he went there, what he saw. But that is when we're supposed to finish this. But you've seen the images of the AZUMAH Nelson Sports Complex after we spent $4 million or close to on it. Because if you are 90% complete, you possibly would have almost spent all this money already by that time, right? And yet you saw the state in which we found it when we visited. That's not all. We also went to another particular sports complex somewhere in the north, and I want to bring that to you. This is the Northern Region Youth Resource Center. And that center was commissioned on March 2018. The project was valued at $3.6 million, and it was scheduled to be completed in 9 months, right? And this is the one that must break your heart if you really believe in Ghana, especially in the midst of an economic crisis. The project was 96% complete. That's of August 2022. 96, almost done. But you saw the pictures that we showed you of that particular project, completely abandoned, overgrown with weeds. And this is a country that is extremely poor. We are broke. We are begging the IMF, begging the Chinese, begging everybody who will listen to forgive our debt because we don't have money. And yet we pumped in $3.6 million and we've left it to rot. So that's another one that we're going to be talking about. And then also, so KOFORIDUA, this is the KOFORIDUA Youth Resource Center. Another one, right, where we spend, let's say $1.8 million, not as much as the others, but still money that we cannot afford to waste. We spent it on the KOFORIDUA Resource Center. And again, 90% complete, 90% complete. right? That is the time that we went there is 90% complete. It was, the president told the facility at the end of 2019 and was happy with the progress. Of course, the president was expecting that this will be done. We'll go and commission it when it's done, and then we'll do a bit of pomp and pageantry. The people will be happy. We'll tell you why this is important, why the state. Look, it's important we spend money on these things, right? But what is not right is waste the money. If you spend it complete and make use of it, right? But that's what we are finding. We spend the money, we abandon it, we just leave it. I bet it will cost far more now to return to it and try to finish it, because we've left it in a state where, you saw the pictures, pretty heartbreaking indeed. Now, I want to give you the general picture of all of the projects. So these are a total of what, 10 projects in all that we were supposed to do across the country. And the progress of work for each is pretty strong in terms of the work that has been done already. So it beats my mind why we would leave all of them and not use them. Well, I'll check in that all of them, because we don't know whether we can find all of them in that state. But Fencho is here, so I'm in good hands. We'll also speak to the man who is responsible for the sports centers as well. Look at this, 97% complete. This is the Doma Hinkro in the Bono region. 97, almost done, right? You have here 87, 82. We are talking about the North Kaneshie, Greater Accra region. We have one there that, again, we spend a lot of money on. This is something that we need to talk about tonight, and that's exactly what I plan to do. And as you know, the sports minister had said a lot about this. That he'd engaged consultants working on the project, and also the National Youth Authority, which is the agency that he, obviously we know, gave the assurance that these projects will be completed in time, so that the identification of talents in the various regions can use these projects as a center. That's a commitment from the sports minister. But we need to drill down to why we have spent a lot of money on this and we've left it to become forests in some instances. Stay with me. My guests are seated after this. Stay with us here on PM Express, and we are having this conversation about abandoned sports infrastructure, the wasted millions. Pius Enam Hajide is the CEO of the National Youth Authority, and he joins us via Zoom. It's been a long time since I spoke to Pius, and I'm grateful that he could join us. And I need to say a Happy New Year to him, because I personally haven't spoken to him this year. And so, Pius, welcome to PM Express. We'll be joined by Mohamed Polo, is a former Black Stars player. But the reason why we are inviting him is because they had the AZUMAH Nelson Sports Stadium was a place that he and his club used, and I'm wondering how this has affected him and his team, because really there's a reason why we're invested in building these sports centers, and so we want to gauge that. We'll also be joined by Wisdom Kobena Woyome, who is the ranking member on the Sports Committee in Parliament, because I understand, and I'll get him to confirm that the parliamentarians themselves are actually planning a nationwide tour of these facilities themselves, possibly on the back of fence work. And so we'll get clarity on that and really get an understanding why they're doing what they're doing, and what they plan to do about it when they've seen what we've already seen. And talking about that, the man who did the work, Fencho Tahiru, Fencho himself, is with me in the studio. Of course, he works with us, my colleague. Fencho, let me start with you. I mean, I saw a bit of your report. I remember where I was when I first saw the first one. We were promoting it. And I had followed the investments because I was happy, because as young people, if you grew up in Accra and went to school in Accra, there's a certain attachment you have to the AZUMAH Nelson Sports Complex, because it was famous for when we were doing it in Takor. I said it. Yeah. You were looking forward to going there because it had the name AZUMAH Nelson on it. Yeah. You know? So when I saw you starting there, we were almost lost in the midst of the bushes. I was a bit shocked. Yeah. And then I realized that I thought it was a one-off. But you say, from where you've been, it isn't the AZUMAH Nelson Sports Complex that is suffering this fate. There is far more.
There is quite a few that have been in that state for the last 5 years. Yes, so construction basically started in March of 2018 under the former sports minister, AZUMAH, and the way to be done in just 9 months. And luckily for all of us here, Pius was deputy minister at the time. So I went on some of those tours with him. And I remember the pomp and pageantry. A lot of the sword cutting ceremonies were done too. And we were all very excited, especially even for the sports media, because the sports infrastructure has always been lacking in this country. And so we thought that was a very ambitious project, and we were all very excited about it. But 9 months came, the projects were not done, deadlines got pushed forward, and then again and again and again, and before you know it, we're 5 years down the line and not a single one of them is being completed. It is disappointing, especially the AZUMAH Nelson Sports Complex, which is where you want to begin with.
So that's the one that we're showing.
That's the one you're showing, because that is directly behind Honorable Pius Ajide's office.
Okay.
What you're looking at right now is directly behind the office. And the last time I was there, before this report, the contractor had said the first phase of the project was more than 90% complete. Okay. So when
was this? Let's do the.
So this is 2020.
So you went in 2020.
So 2020 October.
Okay.
And he said,
in 2020 it was 90% complete.
Yes, and that's phase one. And the phase one of the project involved the pitch, the 4 stands. So all the seats were fixed. The pitch was done. They had even made grounds for the tartan tracks to be laid.
Okay.
The VIP stand was done. It was actually roofed. It's still there. So a lot of work had gone into the project. And the first phase was this close to completion. And the sports minister, who came into office just after the election, because remember, the visit was around October 2020. The election was in December. He came into office around March the following year. In his very first interview, he assured that the projects were progressing quite well. And that was true, because at the time, if you look at the images from that time, the pitch was actually playable. People could play football there. That was the stage it got to. It was looking green, it was looking lush. But since then, there has not been a single gravel or a shovel that has been laid on that project.
So when did we capture these scenes that we just
so these videos were captured at the beginning, in the middle of February, before they started.
So this year?
This year.
Okay.
This year, in the middle of February. And that was when we went to file this report. And so between October 2020 and, in fact, I was told reliably by the contractors that was the last time they raised a certificate, around 650,000 Ghana cedis to be paid for that project. That certificate wasn't paid at the time, work stalled, so they stopped working. And apart from that, there were also new issues involving even the contract value, and I'm sure Honorable Hajide will confirm that, because the contractor apparently in the discharge of his duty discovered that there was more work than was originally valued on the contract.
Even when he was at 90% done.
Exactly. And so they had to come back and try to see how they could reevaluate the contract and try to get some more money in there. So many issues basically stalled the project until date. The AZUMAH Nelson Sports Complex, the one that is directly behind the CEO's office, is exactly what you've seen in the video.
The videos.
It's been overcome by weeds. It looks very abandoned. The pitch that was looking green and lush is now being occupied by weeds. You saw the seats in there, most of them looking dusty, and some of them piled on top of each other.
This one on our screens is not the AZUMAH. This is the whole one.
This is AZUMAH Nelson. This is what I'm describing. Okay.
Now
that's the VIP stand you see there with trees occupying the seats in the VIP stand. So the trees basically are the VIP. Look, this is the pitch.
It's not bad to have trees in VIP to provide a bit of shade, And
the AZUMAH Nelson Sports Complex in itself, which probably, if I'm not, and there is no arguing this, that was basically the star of all of the projects.
It was.
Because this had history. Apart from the renowned sportsman that it was named after, this facility was a training base for national teams during the AFCON 1978. After that, Hearts of Oak have played league matches there. When we closed down the Accra Sports Stadium to renovate it, exactly, that's where they played. But we played basketball. We hosted international boxing bouts there.
I remember.
I caught it.
Yeah.
Fought an American there.
Yeah.
So that facility is more than just a playground for football. Yeah. It was a proper social club. We played cricket, basketball, everything. Yeah. You know, and so a lot of people were excited. More than 50 schools are affected.
No wonder that cost $4 million because, of course, it's a jewel.
Exactly.
I mean, but let me ask you, beyond AZUMAH Nelson, which other ones you visit? Which other sports centers did you visit?
So I also went to KOFORIDUA.
So in total, how many places you?
I went to 5.
5. Okay. So, out of the 10.
Out of the 10.
Okay.
So
this is the KOFORIDUA one we are watching now.
This is KOFORIDUA.
So there are 10 of them. You went to 5.
Yes.
And all 5 were abandoned as at the time.
Yes. And I was accused of going to the 5 where there was no work going on, and that the other 5 there was work going on. Okay. And I'm sure Pius will get to that. But this is KOFORIDUA. So this is work going on phase 2 of the project. Okay. So the project is in phases. Okay. Phase 1, the stands, the pitch.
So at KOFORIDUA, what is happening?
On phase 2, yes.
On phase 2. So when did you go there?
So this was just a week after AZUMAH Nelson.
So this is also late February.
Exactly.
Okay. So this is KOFORIDUA.
This is in KOFORIDUA. It's on the site of the KOFORIDUA Sports Stadium. So it's a place that was.
Where you're walking now is KOFORIDUA.
This is on the pitch.
This is on a pitch.
This is on.
But they're doing phase 2, which we saw.
Yes.
But
phase 2 includes the sustainability projects of the facility.
No, but my question is, I just saw you walk here.
This is the pitch. Yes.
It looks abandoned.
Yes.
But yet we are investing in the phase 2 when the phase 1
was left.
It's in this state.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Did you get my why I feel
No. I get it.
Because I'm thinking that if you are investing in phase 2, then you must have seen the state of phase 1. You must be happy with phase 1 to move to phase 2. Because if you are not complete with phase 1, why do you go to phase 2?
So I was
investing in phase 2, and phase 1 is like that.
Yeah, and again, I was reliably informed the contractor that was working on phase 1 is not the same contractor working on phase 2.
So the contractor working on phase 2 has nothing to do with phase 1.
Exactly.
Even if he sees the state of it,
he doesn't care. That's not the remit of his work.
Okay.
However, in the last 2 weeks, I believe, I spoke to the contractor for phase 2, who told me, and I want Pius to confirm this, that he had now been added the rest of the phase 1 project because the phase 1 contractor in KOFORIDUA had abandoned the project and was now fighting the government over money. So he doesn't even have the rest of the contract now.
And what percentage of work did he do before he?
Over 90%.
So almost done.
Because the pitch was done, okay, the stands were fixed, and it was actually fit enough to host a football match. Oh. The grass was good.
As of when?
This was as of 2021. Wow. You understand? So for me, the National Youth Authority, they did great work at the beginning when these projects started. There was no doubt about that. The speed of work was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, for 96,
and a lot of them were over 80% completed. But whatever happened for the projects to be left in the state in which they were left, to get to where they are now, that's where I find it difficult to understand. Because right now, if we have to complete these projects, we will need more money than was originally required.
Thankfully, Pius is with us, CEO of National Youth Authority. Pius, so why?
Thank you very much, Evans, and good evening to you and to our cherished viewers. I think that this is an important matter, and you will indulge me to maybe give a historical background to the project, create a global picture. Then we can take it one project after the other and drill down on the important topic that you're discussing. But at the very onset, I'd like to state that abandoning of projects is a matter of concern to everybody. And if there appears to be the semblance of abandoning of projects and people are worried and Joy FM is interested, for us, it is welcome news and we must interrogate the matters. But I want to place on record emphatically that the youth resource centers have not been abandoned. I explained to Mr. Fentu and to a colleague of his who hosted me on one of the shows, upon my insistence to respond to some of the issues that were raised in the series that Mr. Fentu, my good friend, was running. I explained that the management of the National Youth Authority made a strong case that it appears that the projects have delayed. And in our view, we were spreading ourselves too thin by focusing on 10 projects simultaneously at the same time. The pace of development was very, very slow because resources were trickling in. You know how government resources are mobilized and how they are in insufficient and limited supply. So if you are giving, for instance, 20 million cedis or 10 million cedis, and you wanted to spend that 20 million cedis on 10 projects over 1 year, the amounts cumulatively may sound huge, but individually you would be spending an average of 2 million per project. And this is how much work you may be able to do. However, if you put the 20 million together and focus on, say, 5 out of the 10 at a particular time, it means that you would be spending an average of 4 million cedis on each project site. In that context, this is how much work you may be able to do. So when I assumed office in August of 2021, I persuaded the governing board of the authority to allow us to prioritize and focus our attention on 5 out of the 10 projects so that we can finish those ones timeously and put them to use and then go back to focus on the other 5. In my view, and in the view of management, if we did that, we will be able to complete the projects on time, and it will prevent us from spreading ourselves too thin, which has been the reason why the projects may have delayed when I assumed office in 2021 in August. And I think that that position has been justified because as we speak, 6 of the project sites are virtually ready for use. In fact, the last 60...
Which of them? Which of them? Which are the 6?
I'll name them to you, Evans.
Okay.
In fact, the celebrations of the 66th independence anniversary, which were just held in Ho a fortnight ago, were held in our facility, the Youth Resource Center in Adakulu in the Volta region.
But wasn't that only made ready because it was designated as a host center for the 6th March?
Absolutely not. We activated action on the whole stadium way before the announcement of the selection of Ho. In fact, Ho was selected because of the state of work that had gone into Ho. That's why it was selected in the first place.
So is Ho 100% complete?
Ho is phase 1 and phase 2 put all together. We are at the terminal stages. I can look in my records and give you the figures, but this will be in excesses of 98% as we speak. What I am informed is happening is the walling at the very back and painting. The walling, the extension of the wall. We noticed that at the back of the stadium, the wall was quite short and there was a need to add a few courses or blocks on the wall. That is happening now, and painting of the walls.
Yeah, I mean, Pius, I have a question on that though, because if Ho is 90, almost 95, 94, as you said, percent complete, that is the same story as the Doma Hinkro. That is, in fact, sorry?
Not.
No, I mean, I'm sorry, but the Doma Hinkro is 97% complete. In fact, was. I mean, and let's come to the one that everybody knows, AZUMAH Nelson Sports Complex, which is 90% complete. I mean, that is a story, almost the same story.
That's not correct. And that is why I believe that Mr. Fento, who rightly has been with us through the entire journey, probably should give you some better insight and background. The project has been in different phases. Mm-hmm. The phases that are being mentioned relate to phase 1.
Yeah, but what we saw, the picture of AZUMAH Nelson Sports Complex we saw is a pitch and a facility that has been overgrown with weeds. Is that what you intended for it to look like 2 years after?
No, Evans, let's understand it. I'm saying that when you say DOMA is 97% complete, what the truthful position is that DOMA phase 1 is 97% complete.
Yeah.
As we speak, DOMA phase 2 is about 70% complete. DOMA phase 2.
Okay.
So the percentages that you are speaking to relate to phase 1. And we are saying that the facility is not usable. The facility is not friendly until both phase 1 and phase 2 are completed.
Yeah, so I want no problem. But I want to come back to AZUMAH Nelson, because that most people can relate to that, because it's the most famous of the law. The videos that we saw, it being a 90% complete, according to the contractor, Fenchu. I mean, so this is quoting a contractor. That's phase 1 of phase 1. This is the video. You're saying that what we're now seeing at 90% complete, which is almost for the phase 1, very close to, completion for the phase 1, as of October 20. I mean, the video. Pius, you're saying that is this what we intended for it to look like in 2023?
No, that's not what we intended for it to look like.
Yeah. So why is it looking like this, Pius?
Evans, I just gave you the background, and you asked me the question. I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
That we chose the strategy because of the resource envelope and the situation that I found, and I'll give you some figures to illustrate the financial position of the National Youth Authority vis-a-vis the financial obligations relative to these facilities. We chose that we should focus on 5. Unfortunately, the 5 that we are focused on does not include the AZUMAH Nelson complex, but it includes WA, it includes DOMA Ahinkro, it includes Dunkwao Onofin, it includes AXIM, and that's why I suggested to my brother Fento that if we are doing a documentary, having now understood, because there was a press event that I addressed and announced that we had changed strategy, and for the year that was gone by, the year 2022, we were going to focus our effort on 5 out of the 10, and that in this year 2023, we were now going to focus on the 5 so we can complete it. And
yes,
so I thought that.
Pius, if you may, yeah. if you don't mind. So you're saying that after spending all the money on AZUMAH Nelson, you have decided that money you spent already in phase 1, we should leave it and focus on others, because but you said it's not part of the ones that you want to complete.
No, Evans, follow the argument.
Okay.
If you say we should leave it, I'm saying that if we continue to spread ourselves thin, we have received, for instance, if I may just share some data to contextualize the argument for you properly.
Yeah.
Between the year 2020, 2021, 2022, and the first 2 months of 2023, the National Youth Authority received a total of 119 million cedis from our funding agency. Out of the 119, we have spent 84 million. Approximately 84 million of those on just the youth resource centers. We haven't done anything else. The youth development, the youth empowerment that we are under mandate to do by the National Youth Authority Act 2016, we haven't done that. We have used 84 million out of the 119 that we have received only on the youth resource centers. And we did this focusing on 10. So we were spreading ourselves thin.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that point, Pius. Pius, I understand that point, but I need to still ask you. Right now, we've already spent significant amounts on AZUMAH Nelson. So what happens? Just a second. So what happens to all the money you've already pumped into AZUMAH Nelson?
No, so exactly the point. Because we want to finish all of these projects, that is why we have now completed almost the 5. Because we focused on 5.
So will you return to AZUMAH Nelson to complete it too?
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, that this year we are focusing on the other 5, which includes AZUMAH Nelson, which includes Navrongo, which includes Yendi, which appears to be the focus of Mr. Fento's interrogations. But I'm saying that because we had put out the information already, that the year 2022, we were not going to touch these 5, but that we were rather going to focus on the other 5. I would have thought that a fair let's say just a fair assessment of our output in the year gone by would have been on the projects that we are focused on.
Okay.
Because we have announced.
Pius, another question I need to clarify. At the time when the government, and fortunately this government, decided to construct these 10 resource centers, thankfully you were the deputy minister. So you're saying that at the time when you decided to embark on these projects, you did not have a well-defined source of funding for the 10, and yet you started.
Well, Evans, you are speaking to me as Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority.
I agree, but you were there when it started.
I'm answering your question.
Yeah.
I came into office and I was confronted with a situation. The situation of how much we were receiving. Maybe that was not the same situation at the beginning or at the time that the projects was started. And Fentu knows what I'm talking about. Maybe that was not the situation. But we were now receiving a certain X amount of money. And I'm suggesting to you that the monies that we were now receiving, the situation that I inherited, if we wanted to continue, contractors are on site at all the 10 places. We'll be moving at a very slow pace, a snail pace.
Pius, unfortunately, you've said this already, but that's not my question. I'm saying that you were there as a deputy. When you started this, did you or did you not have a well-defined source of funding the 10 to completion?
You see, you're saying that I'm deputy.
Then
I don't want to go back in there, but I'm saying that as chief executive, the decision, the reasons why we took the decision is what I'm explaining to you.
Okay, and I think to be fair to you, you've explained.
You are inviting me to comment on a decision that was taken by somebody else in the past. I'm unable to comment on the decision that was taken in the past.
No,
because
Pius, you were the deputy minister at the time the decision was taken. It's a fair question to ask.
But I'm saying that maybe at the time, the situation could at least contain the simultaneous construction of 10 facilities. Is that the same situation today?
Was the 20 million allocated and ring fenced?
I am informed, for instance, by my accounts office, that the monies that the National Youth Authority used to receive in times past has drastically reduced. So I'm saying to you that the context within which a certain decision was taken in times past may not have been the same context that I am confronted with now.
Okay.
And the challenges that I am confronted, or the current management is confronted with now, is what we must take in consideration when we are designing strategies.
Okay. Stay with me for a second. Stay with me. Fent, I'll come to you briefly because I have. Okay, good. Fent, you can go, and I'll come back to the chairman of the.
You know, as deputy minister, when the project started in March 2018 and was supposed to have been completed in December of 2018. Pius was still deputy minister. 9 months. They were supposed to take 9 months to complete.
So whilst he was still deputy, was supposed to.
That's my question. So while you were still deputy, in those 9 months, why were the projects not completed? What happened? What changed in those 9 months?
Okay. Great question. The first response to that is that, Fento, you know that the project that was advertised to complete for 9 months, that project was subsequently amended, and that's why you will find that the contract that was signed, phase 1, there is an addendum contract which had now increased the scope of work from, for instance, a single stand facility and now to a 4-stand facility, increasing the capacity. So what I inherited was a contract for instance, the AZUMAH Nelson complex that we keep referring to. If you check the files right now, there is a contract for the construction of a youth resource center at AZUMAH Nelson. Then there is an addendum contract. The addendum contract came because there is what you call the project creep. There was other parts or other things that were now added to the contract. So of course, the kind of work that you would have done under the first contract, once there was an addendum contract, I knew that automatically the completion deadline was going to change. Then in addition to the addendum contract, there is also now a phase 2 contract. So there are 3 contracts, in fact, already subsisting on the AZUMAH Nelson project, and it's the same for all of the other projects.
Okay,
but we keep referring to the original contract, which has seen a number of amendments and a number of improvements.
Pius, thank you. Thanks, give me a second, because the chairman of the ranking on the Education Committee, the Sports Committee in Parliament, Youth and Sports Committee in Parliament, joins us briefly. Mr. Woyome, thanks for the time you're on PM Express.
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners and viewers.
From what I understand, if you can confirm, this has come to your attention, and I understand that your committee plans to do something about it.
Oh, yes, actually, the committee met, and we met with the new chief executive, and he showed us what he was doing, his plan with regards to releases that had come to him. And so the committee decided that we will do a full visitation to ascertain exactly what has changed with regards to amounts of release, money that are left to be disbursed for the various projects to be completed, and as well as whether there is value for money in terms of what has released so far and the scope of work done. And so the date has changed a little in terms of what we wanted to do. We could have done this earlier, but I think we are deciding to do that probably after, when we go on recess, because we need to tour the entire country to visit all of these resource centers, match them against releases so far, and then also those that had to go through some variations in terms of scope of work and all that, and then we'll come out with our own report. So that is where we are here.
And I know you've been in Parliament and the committee for a while. You were there when this was conceived. You've seen the pictures and the videos that we've managed to gather from our rounds. What's your reaction to what, at least before you go on the field, what we have found and the current state of them? We've spoken to the chief executive, who says that financial constraints has been the main reason, and so they have to prioritize 5 and for now and do 5 later.
Yes, in reality, we also noticed that the common fund releases are inconsistent, and that's where they are supposed to be getting 5% of the releases to common fund per the formula approved by Parliament. And so we also are very much aware of delays and arrears so far as the common fund payments are concerned. And so all of that have contributed in a way per what we saw that, yes, made it a bit challenging in terms of what they were supposed to do. But then I would want to match what has been released so far to them and to the contractors as against what has been done. And that is exactly what we wanted to do. And that was why we decided that we needed to do some full visitations. But I think it has delayed a little. We will do that the decision of the committee that when we go on recess, we'll spend a week or 2 and tour the entire country.
Okay. So the committee wants to understand the challenge before you can propose what you want to do. Thank you very much, the ranking on the Youth and Sports Committee in Parliament. Yes, thank you.
Yes, I just have a quick question for you, Pius, on AZUMAH Nelson. Now, you look at the visuals that we showed you, the overgrown weeds, the trees that are growing in the VIP stand. Now remember, all of these things didn't exist when the work was, phase one was estimated at 90% complete. It was done, the pitch was looking green. All of it is now being overcome by weeds. Do you think that it is right for your agency to completely abandon the work that's already been done for it to rot away? Because I'm looking at maintenance here, that if you have a football pitch that is constructed and a grass put on it, maintaining it, in my opinion, will not cost you as much money as any of what you're spending on the other facility. You spent 84 million Ghana cedis. You couldn't find some 2,000 Ghana cedis there to maintain the pitch on an annual basis?
To mow it and keep it in good shape. I mean, maintaining what you've already invested in.
Exactly.
And not, okay. Please, can you answer that, please, for me?
Well, Mr. Ventura, I welcome your suggestion. We take it as positive feedback. But let me suggest that, you see, maintaining the field is cost. But the field is not ready for use. You are suggesting that we should be maintaining it even though we are unable to use it, because that facility is not ready for use. Construction is ongoing. It is just that we have asked that we stay work on it, and then within 1 year, finish 5 and come to the other 5. It is your view that we should have been spending some 2,000 on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis to at least to mow the grass, even though we would not be able to play football on it. We will take it under advisement and when I engage with management. But from where I sit, we think that there is value in the strategy that we took, that we need to finish these projects and finish them quickly. What is the best way to finish them? The best way is that the small money that we have, let's put it together and finish the numbers that we can finish within a year. Then we move on to the other 5.
Okay, excuse me, Pius, when do you fathom, hold on, when do you fathom the 5, yeah, just a second, the 5 that you are prioritizing,
yes,
on record here, when do you fathom they would be completed and handed over to government?
The instructions to the contractors, which we are still following, is the end of this quarter. So I expect that by March, and I can assure you that by the end of March, as we speak, if you go to AZUMAH now, I don't know how many tartan tracks we have in this country, but tartan track is being laid as we speak in AZUMAH, because we are almost complete. But I'm saying that we would have been having a different set of conversation if at least the 5 that we have completed, the ones that we are fixing the tartan tracks, the one that the ticketing booths are fixed, the tickets, the main entrances have been worked on and all. We would have been having a different conversation if those projects were also shown to at least indicate to the people of Ghana.
So by March ending.
So I need to say something on that because we need to wrap up. So you've given us a clear timeline now. So the first 5 that you invested in, by ending of this month, they'll be complete. So in other words, we can return,
that's right,
say first week of April to go and check.
Yes, those 5.
And check those 5.
Yes.
And Pius, we can assure you, we will be there. We will be there. You've given us 5. In fact, you give us a full list of the 5 that is complete, and then we'll go and check.
Evans, I have already planned a visit to AZUMAH. I will take Mr. Fento with me for Mr. Fento to see what is happening. The tartan track that is being laid.
Yeah, we want to go there once you are done. So we don't want to go and report on that. Oh, the tartan track is.
Anytime. I am not excited that we are where we are.
Yeah.
But I can assure you that we are committed. We are committed to completing the projects. We have almost completed 5 within 1 year since I became CEO, and since Honorable Mustafa became minister. We have completed 5. We will complete the other 5 in good time.
Okay.
What we need you to do for us, Evans and Fentu, is to probably ask for more resources for the National Youth Authority to be able to do these things.
Let me ask on your behalf. Let me ask that on your behalf before I go, because time is up.
But is it not a worry to you? Is it not a worry that out of the 119 million that we have received to do many things, including youth development, capacity building, youth engagement, and all that, we are spending 84 million on only the youth resource center?
Yeah. So Pius, I need to wrap up. But where do you get your money? Where are you supposed to draw your funding from?
The District Assembly's Common Fund.
So you said we should call for money. So let's do that for Joe, because he needs the money.
That's right. So the 5% allocation they get from the Common Fund. But are you getting it on a regular basis?
I think Woyomi says they are not getting.
So sorry, not getting 5 now. We are getting around 2.
Yes, you're right, because the ranking on the committee just confirmed.
Okay. So give them their 5% and they'll be fine.
Yes. So the authorities responsible for disbursing from the Common Fund to the authorities responsible. I know the minister. The minister is trying to fix the problems, and and as you heard, we are grilling him, and that's what we do. But he says, give him the money so he can do the job. And so then when we go and measure, when he's giving the money,
that's right,
and then we go and the job is not done,
yeah,
we will come back to Pius and say, Pius, we checked. Yeah. But if you don't give him the money, yeah, then of course you come and explain to you that that's a reason. So Pius, we've done it for you. We are hoping that we'll come and monitor if they don't release.
First week of April.
First week of April.
He has promised us 5.
Yes, so we'll go and check. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Pius, thanks for joining us.